Hi, this is Lamar, and you're listening to Getting to Third Space with Lamar and Tom. A third space is a term that refers to a safe space for people to come together for respectful dialogue in a spirit of listening, sharing, and learning. In this podcast, we explore what it means to have third space conversations, and we try to model them. If you like what you hear in this podcast, please be sure to subscribe, share it, and of course, like it. The more people join us, the quicker we get to third space as a society. Now let's get to third space today.
Hey, Lamar. Happy Thanksgiving.
Hey, Tom. Happy Thanksgiving back at you.
You know, when I get a phone call from you, you know, of course, you know what the ringtone is, right?
Yeah. It's a turkey, right?
It's a turkey gobbling.
Yeah. Well, so you know when I get a phone call from you, you know what it is.
Well, I think you told me it was a duck quacking.
It's a duck.
Well, yeah. Both could be worse.
Yeah, they could be, but yours is appropriate for this week. That's for sure.
Oh, you getting a lot of water? A lot of rain?
Duck
hunting. Duck hunting.
No. Your ring for me. Turkey.
Oh, yes.
Thanksgiving. Trying to help you make the connection. Sorry, I led you astray.
Oh, that's okay. Not a problem. Well, hey, this is Thanksgiving weekend here in the U.S. Of course, it's in Canada. They celebrate Thanksgiving in October. We celebrate it here in the U.S. In the month of November. So what's on your table this year, Lamar?
So this is going to be probably the most traditional table setting that we've had in a long time. I finally gave up.
Oh, so, you did.
I am not a lover of turkey, and that's probably because we raised thousands of turkeys growing up, along with cattle and other kinds of animals. And but my family does not have that experience, and they love turkey. So I said, okay, we have two turkeys because they were incredibly on sale, and so. I'm going to put them in a smoker, and I'm going to smoke those babies.
All right. Well, hey, that sounds really, really good. Really does.
With some shoe fly pie, by the way.
Woo! Shoe fly pie. Shoe fly pie. I can say that eventually.
Pumpkin pie and shoe fly pie.
Excellent. That sounds really, really good. It really does.
How about you, Tom? What's going on? What's going on in your neighborhood?
Oh, it's pretty pathetic, Lamar. I mean, so. Our audience doesn't know this. You know this. We have quite a few dietary restrictions due to allergies and stuff. And our guests this year, who are members of Clemencia's family, we learned they have been under a doctor's care for multiple allergies this year as well. So we were thinking we were probably just going to be able to get by with a glass of water and saltine crackers, maybe even the oyster crackers.
Ooh,
yeah. How exciting! But no, it's going to be very special. It's going to be graham crackers. Okay.
Oh, graham crackers are good with frosting too, and dip them in milk. And hey, you got a feast.
We got milk allergies.
Milk allergies.
We have dairy allergies.
Well, why don't you make this a carry-in, and people can bring their own what they can eat?
Well, we're almost going to do that. We're gonna go to a local grocery store, and do kind of like one of these things, like, okay, everybody go find something you can eat, and we'll check it out and take it home for Thanksgiving. And so
that's right.
But I don't have any restrictions. I mean, last year I had all kinds of restrictions as I was getting ready for, as I was pretty sick. But this year I don't have any restrictions. And
so what are you going to do? Are you going to be the nice Tom, or are you going to be the self-centered Tom in this scenario?
I'm going to be the nice Tom.
I know you are. Of course,
I know, because this program is about kindness. It would be pretty awful if I were. If I were going to say anything different, right? So,
okay.
Yeah.
I will not send you pictures of the table this year.
No, please don't. I'll just feel bad.
I get it. No worries. No worries. Life sneaks up on us in a lot of different ways.
It does.
So,
Well, thank you for your act of kindness and not sharing your bountiful table
that's
photos
right.
with us.
We'll not do it. uh, so we have actually a table conversation today, right?
We do.
Just the two of us, kind of.
That's right. Well, yeah, kind of. But people will find out what we're talking about here. So, yeah. So you wanna kind of spring it on people what we're doing here today?
Well, we've used the word several times. So this year we were introduced to the concept of being kind, humankind to others, and
to be clear, we've always known about kindness.
You might have. Yes, we had.
Okay,
but some very intentional, intentional work around being kind to other people.
Yeah,
and you and I've kind of latched onto that and have found that to be it fits with who we are and who we want to be.
Yeah,
I have said multiple times that it's been a journey for me to begin to assess how am I in that space and where's the work I need to do to become a kinder person. Yeah. So we're going to talk about kindness. We actually have been running a kind of a survey allowing people to share with us some of their experiences with kindness and some of their ways that they've been kind to others. So we're going to talk about some of that, and you and I will share some of kind of where we're coming from.
Sure. Absolutely. So, and we've been kind of keeping our eyes open throughout this time, looking for kind of these random acts of kindness that we come across. And, we've highlighted some of those, 2 or 3 of those in the show notes. And in fact, we're hoping to bring a couple of those folks onto the show in season 4. Right. And yes, there will be a season 4. Yeah. I know people have been waiting with bated breath. Will they be back for season 4? We have not been canceled yet.
They're pounding at my door saying season 4.
Okay. Well, you got quite a while.
Pitchforks.
You got pitchfork. No. I don't think that's what the pitchforks mean.
We just came out of Halloween. Maybe I got that mixed up.
You might have. You never know. But maybe we should. Actually, people may be wondering how we came to really focus on the acts of kindness, and it actually happened in rather late in this season in August. We interviewed a woman by the name of Jules Casey from the United Kingdom, and she started a movement called Be Humankind. And in that, we began to just talk with her about how she came to this concept of Be Humankind. And she explained that to us in our podcast, and that seemed to be kind of the seminal moment for us when we went, aha, this is pretty cool, and this might be something that we want to begin to feature on the podcast. So we're going to show you just a little clip here of Jules explaining that from our August podcast with her. In your LinkedIn profile, you made a statement that really grabbed my attention. You said, "I am fascinated at how we can live our best life in kindness."
Yeah.
I'm wondering, can you tell us a little bit more about that and what you mean by that?
Yeah. I'll have a go at unpacking it. It's a massive question, isn't it? Or a massive statement, really. And I think I possibly make it because or everything that I've been doing in the last 3 to 4 years have really focused on living well or living your best life. And it's focused on kindness. And there's a very strong link with those two things. So I think one really interesting way of looking at it is to think about living our best life in unkindness. So if I go back to my early career, let's say, so I trained as a nurse, which I think you know, and it was a section of nursing which was about working with people with difference and disability. It wasn't called that back then. It was called something horrible. The registered nurse for one was mentally insane and the other was mentally handicapped. So really unkind ways of thinking about humans. So even that was stood out for me back then, about the language we use and how unkind that is, that one human to another could speak about each other like that. And then I thought I was going about my life being way better than that and aiming to live in kindness and be kind and be in service of others. But the system, the first, say, 15 years of my career, I found myself working really, really hard to be in service of others through nursing. And I was involved in closing the long stay hospitals. And I believe there are similar things in America, because I've got some strong links with some of the American sort of social care and health people over the years that I've worked with and been involved with. So we had a similar path of understanding how unkind and inhumane those places were, that we put people and thought that that was the best place for them, and then recognised probably in the 70s, 80s that really wasn't the best place for humans, and it was actually deeply unkind and not very fair or reasonable even. So certainly in the UK, I was on a mission then to close as many of those, or be involved in closing as many of those as possible. And the idea we had in the UK was called community care in the community. And so that was better. That was more kind, maybe, but there was a lot of things that weren't kind still, and a lot to learn. But that was my beginning of thinking about human kindness, and how actually, unless we really think about it, we just by habit can be quite unkind.
Well, that certainly brings back some memories, and I think it was a very good challenge for us with the podcast to think about it. If we believe that third space is an important thing, and if we believe that respecting each other and communicating effectively and authentically is important, that kindness really does fit into that model.
Yeah.
Because we know that we don't get anywhere in it, or we actually cannot create a third space if it's not an accepting, supporting, and safe place.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and as you mentioned a little bit ago, we also have been asking people to submit their acts of kindness to us. Mm-hmm. We have had quite an interesting response.
Well, tell us where we have been getting responses
from Hawaii to Alberta, Canada, to Chicago, to the United Kingdom. We have had people respond.
There's like a country music song in that somewhere.
Yeah, there probably is.
I've been everywhere. Okay, never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah. If only we could have gotten Johnny Cash to sing that, right?
Yeah.
So, it's been a really nice response, and we've really appreciated what people have shared. We're going to take a few minutes. We're going to go through some of the acts of kindness that were submitted to us on the survey that were received by people. So, Lamar, kick us off.
Sure. So one of the very first ones that we received was from an individual who said that a motel owner in California allowed 30 people to camp in his lawn when all the hotels in the area were full. I can so appreciate that, being a camper myself. When suddenly you realize there's no place at the inn, and where are we going to spend the next night or several nights? So that's a big deal to open up your personal space and let people camp in that space.
Yeah. This next one is just so incredibly personal, and it comes from an individual that says, when I came home from work and found my sister dead in the living room, 3 of my friends dropped everything to come and sit with me for hours. I mean,
Wow.
that's incredible.
So many levels that is just an amazing thing for people to do. First of all, nobody likes to step into that scenario to be supportive. It's an uncomfortable scenario to be in, but these people, friendship won, and they stayed with this person for however long it was, and that finding a loved one who has passed or who has died is traumatic in itself, and being in that space with that person for a period of time is traumatic. So the gift that these friends gave this person, that was above and beyond. That's great. It's incredible.
Really nice. Very nice.
The next one, this person had moved and got a job working with children, and they write, I had a manager that quietly watched my work performance with the kids we worked with. She eventually asked me to babysit her children. Little did she know that the money she gave me with her weekly babysitting request helped me eat. My checks only covered my rent and the bills. So her paycheck from the work was not reaching even to the point of being able to eat. And this is one of those scenarios, Tom, where this person may or may not have been aware that the need for more funds was there, but it really, it literally put food on her table.
Yeah, absolutely. The next person wrote in, every evening when the weather permits, a neighbor comes to my house and we walk together for about 20 to 30 minutes, arm in arm, so I will not lose my balance. What fun we have, walking and discussing the day's political events. I could just see these two people walking down the street, right? Arm in arm, and they're chatting away. Now, I'm not sure that I would be necessarily talking political events, but hey, to each their own.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, sometimes you have to just, you can't be upset and angry all the time, right?
Oh, no, that's right.
Yeah. Talk about political events and enjoy your conversation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that just seems like such a sweet thing to do. And I think back a couple years ago when I had just a horrific hassle with vertigo. Mm-hmm. And there were times when I just couldn't move. And so I can so fully appreciate how comforting that has to be for that person to have another person take their arm and help them maintain their balance so they just don't fall over. I mean, there was a time when I was going through that, if I had fallen over in somebody's yard, it probably would have snowed and rained on top of me before I'd gotten up. So this is a very sweet one. Very sweet.
Yeah. The next one is the little things done in a neighborhood add up to a community that cares. I like where this is going already. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows me because I walk every night when the weather permits. Sometimes folks in cars will stop just to chat, or a biker will wave as I'm sitting in my driveway after walking. Kindness begins with little strokes of friendships. Children adopted from a country in Africa raked my yard just for the fun of it. I, of course, insisted on payment.
Yeah.
But being able to engage with people in a community, we've talked a lot about the importance of building relationships. Mm-hmm. We've talked a lot about the importance of showing appreciation and connecting with each other. And this is a good example of that.
Yeah, it really is. Can you imagine the surprise of those kids? They were having the time of their life, raking the leaves, right?
Yeah.
And then here she shows up and says, or this person shows up and says, boom, here's payment. And now it's like, whoa. We had fun and we got money. That's a pretty good deal. The next person wrote in, an angel just donated $10,000 to our birth center to pay for moving and startup expenses so we can hire a great, all caps, great new midwife. That's really cool. I mean, it's, every now and then these angel funders like just kind of appear.
You and I both spent quite a bit of time of our careers working in nonprofits, which operate on shoestrings sometimes.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes, a $10,000 gift, it just, you can sleep at night. There's a huge relief, and that's what kind of sounds like what's happened here. Even though it wasn't going directly to this person, it was impacting them greatly.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes $10,000 in a small nonprofit makes the difference between making payroll and not.
Mm-hmm.
So,
this next one is an interesting one for me because sometimes I think we underestimate how we nurture people in the workplace and in their careers. This person says, life changed for me when a leader at the charity I was working at identified that I had great interest and knowledge of the future in social care and invited me to attend a series of foundational meetings about this. It led to where I am today, 20 years on. I would never have had the opportunity if it wasn't for him. He gave me wings.
Wow.
Well, sometimes it just takes that encouragement, that push, those words to get someone to move on.
Yeah. This is one of the other things that is so beneficial about being in a relationship with others is sometimes they see things in us that we just cannot see in ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And when we begin to look at ourselves through their eyes, that's when we begin to see it. That is really cool. Oh man, this next one, this is great. Our vehicle broke down 8 hours from our home, and a shipping company shipped it home to us for free.
Wow.
Can I get the name of that shipping company? Wow. But the neat thing there is that we sometimes think about the cold-heartedness of corporations, right? And some can be very cold-hearted. There's no doubt about that. But this is a case where a person in need, 8 hours from their home, they said hours, so it must have been a family, and they're 8 hours from their home, and they're not, you're not sure what they're going to do. And all of a sudden, somebody appears and says, hey, we'll make sure it gets home for you. Can you imagine the cost if you had to have AAA pull that?
But even trying to find someone to do that, wow. That was a huge gift for that person, that family.
That was an amazing gift. It really was.
The last one on our list, and this is something I think we see sometimes, and sometimes we see we don't respond, and sometimes we do. But a man was stopping on the motorway, on the highway, after an accident to help me get to safety.
Yeah.
And we don't know obviously what the story is behind that, but the person was obviously grateful to get out of a dangerous situation or harmful situation to a spot of safety. And sometimes it just takes leading someone a few feet. Sometimes it just takes that stopping and asking people if they're okay. But being able to, this is one of my favorite phrases, is to get off your donkey and get your hands dirty. And sometimes that's what it is getting off your donkey, and that can be so meaningful to people. You like that phrase, huh?
Donkey. That's really good. That's really good. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, and somebody was willing to get off their donkey. And now I've lived in the Midwest a long time. You are still in the Midwest. I want to tell you
I got donkeys all around me.
Well, one of the scariest things that I've ever seen is when a car breaks down on the 5 or 6 lanes of highway we have going at 80 miles an hour out here on I-95 or I-70. And especially if they break down on the inside lane near the median, oh my gosh, that is just frightening to be there with the cars going by at the speed they are. And how does one ever imagine getting across the road, getting to safety? Whew. So,
yeah.
Well,
okay.
Some good acts of kindness received. Lamar.
Yes.
We should probably pony up here.
Okay.
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
No, I could go first. I can go first. And thank you for asking. I started a list, and my wife and I were just in the kitchen just chatting, and suddenly this list just kind of developed, and it's like, the more you think about how many acts of kindness we have received, the list just goes on and on. And that's a pretty cool thing to think about.
Yeah.
Which then lends us to think about the other side of that coin, right? Mm-hmm. How have we done passing that on? But this past year, I'm a camper. My wife and I are campers, and we love traveling the country. We were in Wyoming this May, headed to the Grand Tetons, and we have a new tow vehicle that gets a lot less gallons per mile. Miles per gallon. Gallons per mile is a better way to say it.
You mean it gets a lot of gallons per mile?
Yeah, that's right. I get a lot of gallons per mile. But we were in a pretty desolate part of Wyoming, and just getting ready to head up through a pass and get to our destination for the night. And I took a wrong turn. And I figured it out about 25 miles or so from where the turn was. Oh, this isn't right. So I said, we have a couple of choices. We recognize we could go straight and go somewhere else to spend the night, or turn around to go catch the turn that we missed, and then head up into the mountains. Well, that's what we chose to do. But I knew that we needed some gas to make that all the way. And so I had identified on the map 2 gas stations between here and where we needed to go. So we went back, and we got to the corner where I thought there was going to be a first gas station where we missed the turn. There was a gas station that was no longer a gas station. It was nothing, actually. So we thought, well, we know there's one more up the road, so let's go ahead and make the turn and head on up the mountain. So we're heading up the mountain. Now it's starting to get dark because I had wasted on this, trip with this missed turn, and getting up the mountain to where I was going to get gas on the second place. And guess what? There was no gas station at all there. It wasn't there. May have been there at one time. So 2 gas stations in this desolate area, there was none. And now it was a matter of, can I make it to the destination? And so I'm headed up the pass, and it starts to get dark. And I'm about 50 miles away from the town. And I know that I just watched my gas tank just drain, because I couldn't tell because it was dark what the pitch was, but it had to be pretty steep. And as we're going along and I'm watching this happening, a thunderstorm rolls in around the mountain, and it is raining. It is pouring. We get about 20 miles from the town that I know was there, that I know had a gas station, when everything stopped. I ran out of gas. Oh. So I pulled off the side of this highway, put all my flashers out and all the emergency stuff. Had one bar on the phone, this whole story, and it's pouring rain, just pouring rain on a black, and there's no lights, it's just black mountain. I got a hold of a gas station, and in that town we were headed to, and they said, we'll send somebody out. So I waited about 45 minutes, and nobody showed up. So I called him again, and he said, well, we went out to where we thought you were at, but you weren't there. I said, no, we went through it. They had gone past the turn where I was at. And so he said, well, we'll come out again. And lo and behold, this young man in his pickup truck come out with a 5-gallon can of gas. I'm thinking, yeah, I don't know if that's going to be enough. but he puts it in the car, and I follow him. I said, I need to follow you just in case. And so I followed him all the way in. And we got to talking at one point as he was filling the gas can. And he wasn't working. I mean, he was doing this on his own. And he was just in high school. He hadn't graduated yet. And I said, well, why? What's the deal? He says, well, I'm off early. I'm going home. My dad and I are getting up in the morning. We're going hunting. He told me this whole story. And I said, so you came out in the rainstorm to deliver 5 gallons of gas to me? Yeah, it doesn't sound like a good place you ought to be. Which it wasn't. But I can't tell you how relieved that was on a mountain highway for someone to come out in the middle of the night in rain and storm, and not even working that night to deliver us 5 gallons worth of gas.
Yeah.
I thought that was incredibly kind of that individual to do all of that.
Yeah. Well, you've kind of also suggested a real kindness that your wife extended to you.
Yes.
She didn't
gotta love this woman.
give you much grief about going to ghost gas stations and stuff like that.
Right. Well, yeah. There might have been, the first comment might have been, let's never tell anybody about this again, too. I did get her permission today. Is it okay if I use this? Oh, yeah, that's fine. It's a good story.
It's a good story.
But I was totally without any resources.
Yeah.
Wow. And so, and trust me, AAA would not have been there.
Oh, I'm sure. And allegedly, AAA would not have been there.
Okay, we'll say allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly, yes. AAA would not have been there. So, oh my gosh, that's a good story.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Well,
thank you to that young man.
Absolutely,
yep.
Absolutely. Well, mine goes back almost 40. Oh, yeah, it goes back 45 years, and it was actually a seminal. I mean, a really crucible moment for me. You and I both worked for the same youth organization. And at one time, I worked for a branch of that organization in northern Illinois. Mm-hmm. And I was en route to an event one night. And I was in a really bad car accident. And everybody went to the hospital. I was put in an ambulance with another individual, and we went to the hospital. And we got there, and I laid on the gurney outside the emergency room for about 4 hours. And finally, a nurse came out with a butterfly bandage and put it on a cut on my leg that I got trying to get out of the car. No x-rays, no visit by a doctor, nothing. I was put in a wheelchair, wheeled out to the front for somebody to come and pick me up, because the youth organization I was working for not only wasn't paying me anymore, but they weren't paying for my health insurance. So I had no insurance.
Oh, my.
I mean, we were in a really, really, really difficult place. We had no car. We had little food in the house. I got home somehow that night. A friend came and picked me up and got me home. And we just really didn't know what to do. I mean, we just didn't know what to do. And as you would know, and a lot of our listeners might not know, we were working with very evangelical, very conservative organizations. And we when we would gather in that little town that I worked in with other ministers, we would always talk about this one particular Lutheran minister that we were sure was going to hell. Because he smoked and he cussed and he, just was not he didn't live up to what we believed was a really good Christian life. And one night, I hardly moved for about 2 weeks. I probably had some pretty serious bruising and such. Maybe even had a good concussion because my head took out the window when I got hit. But we didn't know what to do. Nobody could get to work, and besides, if we got to work, I wasn't getting paid anyway. And one night, a door on our front door, there was a knock on the door, and I hobbled to the door and I opened it, and there was that same hell-bound Lutheran minister. And all he said was, "We heard you're having a difficult time." And he proceeded to unload 12 bags of groceries into our house. And that was a moment for me, because now it was a moment in which I really had to examine what I believed, what my faith was at that time, and ask myself, where was the real act of Christianity in all of this? It wasn't from my church. They never came to see me. They never offered help. It came from this guy that the rest of us were sure was smoking cigarettes with the devil in hell, and where he was bound for, right? So that was one of those times that it just absolutely began to affect what my worldview was, and how I saw myself in relationship to faith. So yeah, that was. Whenever anybody asks me about an act of kindness, my mind automatically goes back to that, because it was so life-changing for me.
I can see why.
Yeah.
To see and to experience from people you would least likely feel like you're going to hear from or see from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was something else. It was something else.
Oh.
Well,
fantastic.
Well, we've got some video that we can show, because ever since we met with Jules in August, we have been asking each of our guests to tell us, to share with us about an act of kindness that they have received and an act of kindness that they have performed. So the first one we were able to do that with was, I'm not sure of the order actually here, but there's 3 that we've done. Ethan Corson, who is a politician in Kansas and currently running for governor on the Democratic ticket. Christy Vilsack, who is the former First Lady of Iowa. We just, in fact, finished her 2-part podcast. And then Stan Martin, who is a guy from Buffalo, New York, that is just the most amazing community engager, and so much fun to talk to.
That was quite an interview.
That was really that was a cool interview with Stan.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a look at those. Before we do, I want to say this about Stan's act of kindness, and I'm showing it because Lamar, you said I have to.
I think you have to show this, Tom.
And the reason that I was reluctant is that it was kind of embarrassing. When Stan shared his act of kindness, it was about me, and it was completely unexpected. And I guess what that says is that sometimes we do things for people, and we don't understand that to them that is an act of kindness.
Right.
And so I was kind of embarrassed. I thought, like, oh man, that's, he's going to share this. It's going to be like, promo for Tom Klaus, or something.
No, this is too good. It's good.
Yeah. So we're going to show those 3 videos, Ethan, Christy, and Stan. And we hope if you haven't seen them before, we hope you enjoy them. What is an act of kindness you've received that changed your life?
Well, I would say I received so many acts of kindness when I was a young person and I first got interested in politics and government and didn't really know how to go about it, didn't really have any sort of a master plan. I mean, I grew up in a family where my parents voted, but we weren't political, really. I didn't grow up going to campaign rallies or meeting politicians. And so it was something that I had an interest in, but didn't really know that much about. And so when I had that interest, I just had so many folks who really went out of their way to take extra time, try to mentor me, try to really help further my interest in that in a really positive way. And to narrow it down, I'll give you one specific example. My dad used to work with a guy who was a Republican representative in the Missouri State House. So he worked. He was a representative and represented a district in Missouri. His name was Brian Pratt, and my dad went to him and just said, "Look, my son is just, for whatever reason, gotten really interested in politics and government. Do you think he could come down and just spend a day with you at the Capitol in Jefferson City?" And Brian was just so incredibly gracious to me and so kind, and let me really just kind of be glued to his hip for the entire day. And I thought it was the coolest experience ever. I really could not believe that people got to do this for a living. I thought it was so interesting. And I also remember, though, that one of the things that stuck with me, and I still remember this, is when he would introduce me to other people, he would say, "Oh, this is my friend, Ethan." And just the way that he called me his friend, when we probably really weren't friends. I was more the kid of his coworker. But just instead of saying, "Oh, this is this person who's shadowing me today," or "This is this person who's interning for me today," or he really, made me feel almost like, "Oh, this is a peer of mine. This is my friend." And so when he would introduce me to other legislators, it was always, "Oh, this is my friend, Ethan." And just created a wonderful day for me that really, again, furthered that interest that I have. And so I'm just grateful that when I had this interest at a young age, I was around people in both parties, not really from an ideological perspective, but just from a mentoring perspective, who just helped me kind of have a positive experience where I wanted to do more. I wanted to progress. I wanted to stay engaged, where I think that if I would have had that interest and I would have had people who were less interested or maybe had some negative experiences, I'm not sure I would have stuck with it. And so it was people like Brian and other folks who really went out of their way when they saw, "Hey, this young person really has a genuine interest in this. I'm going to try to help them further that." Were really true acts of kindness that I don't know that I would be here running for governor without some of those things along my path.
My mom died of cancer 2 weeks before I graduated from high school and was sick for the 2 years before that. So I had a 10-year-old brother, and my dad and I were struggling after she died, right before I went to college. And I had this outpouring, and I think everybody, maybe this happens for everybody, but in a small town, everybody stepped in, made sure that my younger brother had his pants when he grew, that he had, if he needed pants, they'd make sure that he was dressed to go to the spring sing, or people would come up with clothing for me or help me figure out what to take to college, or it was that outpouring of people. And I think in the end, I didn't realize it till much later, but I think in the end, it's why I came home. When I had to decide, when Tom and I were deciding to come back to Mount Pleasant, I never intended to come back to Iowa, never intended to come back to my hometown. But in the end, when I was thinking about teaching, having a family, I thought, oh, if I'm going to have kids, I'm going to have I don't have a mom, and I didn't have a mother-in-law. Some of these women in Mount Pleasant, they're going to help me raise my kids. That community is going to be there when I need help. So there's that. And then the other thing that changed my life, I don't know if this is kindness or not, but when I was a junior in high school, I became an American Field Service student in South America. So my father had told me that it was important. He wanted me to go to college in another part of the country, but when I had the opportunity to go to another country, he told me about being in the war and getting outside of his country and how that made him a better American. So he encouraged me to go to South America, where I lived with a family. I lived with a family. I was their child for 3 months. They were responsible for me. And that changed my life because I was 3,000 miles away from home, and I realized that I could do that. And I found out what it was like to live in another country where they thought their country was the best country in the world. And they wondered why I didn't know about their music, why they had to know about mine in the United States. And that, they questioned me as an American because we had taken over their copper mines. So it's like I was representing my country. And because I could do that, and because I saw that there was a much bigger world than the small town that I grew up in Iowa, I realized I had to go out and find that. And in the end, I made the decision to come back, bringing that worldview with me, which made me a better Iowan and I hope a better citizen of my community. And so those two things, I think, work together to completely change the life that I.
What is an act of kindness that you've received that's changed your life, that's really impacted you?
Yeah. I'm going to start recently. As I mentioned earlier, I've been involved in this work for 20 years, and I had some trepidation, about starting my own business, Stan Martin Consulting, and working on projects and initiatives that, really mattered to me. And I reached out to a dear friend, and he helped me, develop my business in terms of access to websites, doing my tax information, filing, the whole process, the whole nine. And
good.
And that person is someone who I've been respecting, and admiring their work for a number of years. And they encouraged me, and they gave me also an opportunity to showcase and share my talents and skill, on a larger platform. And they didn't have to do it, and they took the time out, to do that. And 2 years later, I'm happy to say, when most businesses independently, fail, I'm happy to say that now, Stan Martin Consulting is a, minority, business enterprise, MBE certified here in New York State. And also getting ready to launch another business, not-for-profit, SOAR for solutions as well. So, but my friend who's in this space right here, Tom Klaus, when I needed him, was there for me, when I was debating about which path I should take, and to step out there on faith. So that act of kindness created a ripple effect that not only changed my life, changed my family and the community in which I reside today.
That was a surprise.
Yeah.
I'm really honored. Thank you, Stan. That means a lot. Thank you.
Well, it was good to watch those videos again with the accounts that each of those individuals shared. I appreciated that very much.
Yeah.
And I think once again, the idea that we do make a difference by the things that we say, and we make a difference by the things that we're able to do, even if we're not aware. It's always important to be aware that we have influence in that way. So I thought those were good things to share with the group.
Yeah, and they were, whenever we ask that question to people, we have no idea what they're going to share.
Yeah.
And each one is always so surprising and so neat. And you can tell when we're talking with them about it that it's really meaningful to them. That's really neat. Really is.
And we have more coming up in some future episodes.
Yeah, we do.
So we'll continue with this theme.
Well, so Lamar, we're going to go back to that survey now, but we're going to kind of switch gears here, which is really about what are the acts of kindness that you have done? Yeah,
the actual question I think is important to get a grasp on. This is what is the act of kindness you've done, which you hope has changed someone's life.
Yeah.
And that's what we're kind of after here. So, kind of back to that first one that I shared, if you recall, you know, that the motel owner had allowed 30 people to stay in his lawn. This person shared that I allowed a homeless friend to camp in my yard for a year. And I thought, the one thing that we don't know is, was this before or after your experience initially? It's one of those things where it's kind of like, you know, we tend to pass things on because they make sense and they're the right thing to do.
Yeah. I suspect it was after.
That's my guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So the one that I have here, another person said, and this one makes me cringe because I don't.
You don't like needles either.
I don't like needles. This person wrote, "I have donated 218 pints of blood in my lifetime." And I'm thinking, whoa, man, I tell you what, I don't know if in a lifetime I have produced 218 pints.
You may not have needed to.
Yeah,
but,
that's true.
But, you know, what a gift. What a gift that is.
Yeah.
You know, my father had a fairly rare blood type. And I remember him being called out of the field as we were farming, that he needed to go in town to give blood right away.
Wow.
And but he would do it. He would also give it on regular intervals. And so I saw that and understand. Maybe I didn't understand it as much then as I do now, but I very much appreciate what he did.
Was he a universal donor? I think that's O negative, right?
I'll be honest with you, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know that when they needed it, that particular blood type, that he would get a call.
Wow. That is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Well, let's see. What do we got next here? I have
one here.
Yeah, you do. Okay. Good. I'm glad you do. I don't.
This person said, there are times when I randomly send money to family, friends, or even strangers. It's not an outrageous amount, but I always hope those couple of dollars are enough to get someone through to the next day. I totally understand that. People sometimes the amount is enough, just enough for whatever the situation is. But the fact that you feel valued by somebody who's willing to step in and think of you in that way, a lot of times it can be anonymously, or sometimes it could be, you know, when you know someone's really struggling, like the story that you shared. I think that I know people who have talked about giving in those ways have felt very, very much enriched by doing so.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this person said, a family from Saudi Arabia moved into the neighborhood, and the mom cannot speak English. However, that can be overcome with love and caring. I try to keep up this growing relationship for both families. Yeah.
Wow.
It's nice.
Yeah. You know, building relationships with people who don't have the privileges, I'm going to use that term because I think it's an important term, that I may have because of my nationality and my experience. I think that is part of almost an obligation on our part these days. And I'm so thankful to hear that someone has reached out in those ways. We relate to someone who is from Ukraine and speaks very little English, although it's getting better. But learning how to speak through the Google Translate app has been a real good, most of the time, a real good experience.
Oh, yeah.
And you know how I feel about Google. But, you know, we see this person regularly, and it is the smile on both of our faces when it's like, oh, okay, we've communicated. Oh, that's what you're going to do. Oh, this is where you're going to be. We get it. And to be able to build those relationships, I think is very, very positive.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I appreciate that this person is doing this because we are living in such a anti-immigrant environment right now. And you and I know better, but there's a lot of folks out there that are kind of buying into some of the anti-immigrant stuff. And I just want to say, please, get out of yourself and extend yourself. Unless we're Native American, we are all immigrants here.
Yeah.
That's right. So, very good.
Do I get neighbor?
No, you got the next.
I've got the next one. My neighbor, who is now in a nursing home, appreciates the phone calls I make to let him know what's happening in the neighborhood. He was the one who helped me after the Dre show. I no longer drive, so a phone call is helpful.
Yeah,
I totally get that.
Yeah.
I'm thankful once again to my parents for their regular, monthly, at least monthly visit to the local nursing homes to visit with people. And most of the people they knew, growing up and were in the community. I think that's a wonderful model, and how you can be so cut off from the world that you once were in. And so having that connection, a phone call, even a visit, I think what a gift that person's giving.
This took me back to the pandemic years and Zoom, and how important it was for people to actually jump on Zoom or on Google Meet or something and to spend time together. We did that with you and your spouse. My wife has done that, learned to teach her classes online. And it meant so much to many of the people, some of whom were in their 80s and 90s, because it was just a human connection for them. So, all right. I did not turn in a midwife who had behaved unethically. Yeah, okay. There's judgment calls we make, aren't there?
Absolutely.
Sometimes, there are things that are right by the law, and yet we may struggle with them from an ethical perspective. And in this case, it just said the person behaved unethically. So I'm assuming that it was nothing illegal, but it could have certainly probably made the person's life pretty miserable had they been turned in. Mm-hmm. So that's a grace that they have extended.
I think you use the word grace. I like that. I like that concept that sometimes we need to get past the harshness, the hardness of the kind of the boundaries we've set, and give each other a little bit more grace.
Yeah.
In how we relate to each other.
Yep.
This next person says, sometimes practicing kindness can be challenging. That is true. Mm-hmm. I once supported a friend and a colleague to help her see herself more clearly, and had to be tough and kind. Not nice, which is often confused with raw kindness. That never avoids being honest in a kind way. To change from seeing life as a set of conflicts and being so brave to make big changes so life can be fun again, and self-kindness with glow within. There's a lot packed into that.
There really is. I mean, what an insight this person offers when they say, real kindness never avoids being honest.
Yeah. Right.
Niceness avoids being honest, but kindness, there's an honesty to it, that you're willing to share what you believe to be true.
Tom, you want to go to the last one?
Oh, I can, sure. This person said, I paid for friends to have a short break after a bereavement. Wow. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Sometimes that's about the only thing that you can do when people are grieving, when there's been loss, is to make it possible for them to step away from it a little bit and recover. We are at a point.
Go ahead.
We got a bunch of kind people out there.
Well, I think that this whole exercise is not only for us to try to encourage kindness, but also to just put a reflection on, we think of our world around us sometimes as not being a very kind place. It's not like it used to be. But I got to tell you, there are people out there that are awesome, and they're doing awesome things every day around us.
That's
and I think we need to just be aware and celebrate that.
Okay, Lamar. So, how have you been awesomely kind?
Awesomely kind. Well, so last weekend, I got a call, and I do photography. This kind of a thing I do. I have a studio, and I do people photography. I do landscape photography. I got a call saying, "Hey, I've got a friend whose husband is recently diagnosed with pancreatic cancer." That's a tough call. Pancreatic cancer is really a tough row.
Yeah, it is.
And so they just started treatment. And this person who called me said, I would like to offer them a family portrait before they get too far into the treatment. And the question was, would you be willing to do it? I said, absolutely. Sign me up. I'll do the photograph. And so that was, I am a huge believer in the value of family history and in being able to look in our past at moments that we capture photography. And so I wanted to be able to provide that for people. I don't know who they didn't know who they were, and I don't know if I'll ever have any other contact, but it was an opportunity to share something that I do, and in a way that I hopefully will be meaningful to them in the future.
Oh, so, that is cool.
There we go.
That is really cool, and that'll be such a precious gift for them.
Yeah,
because you and I both know that's a very difficult cancer to survive.
Very tough.
Very tough.
And they're making progress. Good progress, as long as the research doesn't stop, as long as the funding continues, they're making really good progress. But this is a slice in time right now.
That's right. Absolutely. Oh, wow. Well,
how about you, Tom?
So I was at my favorite grocery store one day, Aldi.
Oh,
Aldi. And I came out, and there was a man there with a toddler, and he looked bewildered. And yet, he needed help. He was getting a few groceries that he could. And I thought, there's something different about this guy. He's not really putting himself out there as a panhandler. He's just, in a sense, hoping somebody will help. And I stopped and I spoke to him, and he spoke back, and I realized we would not communicate because he spoke Arabic. But over the next few minutes, I slowly figured out that he was from Syria, and that his family had just come to the United States. They were temporarily staying in a hotel, but they had no resources, no family, no money, nothing. And And I said, he did have a cell phone. They had given him a cell phone when he came in. And I said, do you have a phone? And he says, yes, I could. Could I get your phone number? And I will have somebody call you who you can communicate with. And he gave me his phone number. I wrote it on my hand, actually. I didn't have a piece of paper. I wrote it on my hand. And I went home. And of course, I had no idea who to call. I don't have a lot of Arabic speakers in my hip pocket here. But we lived right across the street at that time from a Islamic center.
Okay.
So I called. And my voice went to an answering machine. But within 5 minutes, my phone rang. And I talked with, I don't know if I was speaking with the imam or the president of the center. But he was just so engaged, and he says, what can we do? And I said, I told him the story, and I said, you're the only folks I could think of that would probably have Arabic speakers. And he says, yeah, we have a lot of Arabic speakers. And I said, I'll give you the man's phone number, and I would appreciate that if you would reach out to him and see if you could be of assistance. And he said, yeah, we'd be really, really happy to do that. I said, but I got to tell you, I don't know if he was Muslim or Christian. And without missing a beat, he says, it doesn't matter to us. We don't care. He's a person in need, and we'll do everything we can to help. To this day, I don't know what happened. I mean, I did what I could do, and that's all I could do. But it's one of those things, when we ask the question about what's an act of kindness you've done that you hope have changed life? That's one where there's a lot of hope, because in making that connection, I hope that something really good came out of it for that man and his young family. So,
well, what I mean, you have no idea the outcome, and that's not the intent of being kind. Is that you necessarily manage the outcome? Yeah,
that's right.
Sometimes it's just responding, right?
Right.
So, I think this whole exercise we went through today, of listening to what other people's experiences are, and also taking some time just to reflect for ourselves has been a good exercise. And hopefully, it's been helpful to others who have been listening. This Thanksgiving time,
yep.
We often say, okay, what are we thankful for? Well, oh my goodness, here's a whole trove of things that we can put on the table today.
Absolutely. I think we should continue our survey.
Okay.
Just keep it up there. We'll keep nudging people over the next 12 months. I mean, this was, we like to kind of do things around the holidays. Sometimes they're goofy things, right? Sometimes they're pretty straightforward things. This was so cool. I hope that we can get a whole bunch more stories, so that next year at this time, we're doing nothing but sharing other people's stories.
Yeah, I would love that. I think that would be great.
Yeah.
And we are on the tail of some people who are. When I say on the tail, we are communicating with. We're not stalking, but we are communicating with people who are doing some serious acts of kindness that go well beyond, I think, just an incident or an opportunity. It really is ratcheting up what's possible that we can do.
Yeah.
And so hopefully we'll get those folks on here in this next season, like you had mentioned early on.
Absolutely. And be sure to check out the show notes, because that's where we have some of them listed. We have 3 of them down there that are doing some really unique things in a very focused and strategic way. And the link for the survey will continue to show up on our show notes. And please, if what you've heard today has inspired you to share your own story of an act of kindness received or given, please tell us about it. And maybe next year at this time for our Thanksgiving show, you'll hear yours here as well. Well, happy Thanksgiving, Lamar.
Well, you as well.
Enjoy that big spread of food on your tables.
enjoy the turkey and and the pies. Those are the two things I know for sure is going to be there. I'm sure the traditional green bean casserole that's on the back of every Campbell's soup can will be there, which we all love, right?
Yeah.
But Tom, you enjoy as well.
I
And
will.
I am
may
anxious to hear how this goes.
I may sneak some frosting onto my graham cracker.
Sound like a good idea, didn't it?
I'm thinking, what? That's really good. I like that. That's great. So
those windmill cookies from Pella, Iowa would be really good at that event too. It's almost a graham cracker.
Well, stop it, Lamar. You're making me almost drool. I almost spilled my coffee on myself earlier. I hope people didn't see that. I kind of messed my mouth.
Well, if you're from Iowa and you've been through Pella, if you're traveling through Iowa and you go through Pella, you gotta stop at the bakery and get two things. One is a bag of windmill cookies, and two is the
Dutch
letter
letters.
S Dutch letters and pastries. And oh my gosh!
All right, so next time we get together with you and your spouse, ask my wife about the first time she got a Dutch letter at Jarsma Bakery. It's a very funny story. I can't tell it here.
All right.
Okay.
Well, you take care.
All right, we'll do, Lamar.
All right.
We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Tom here. Thank you for listening to Getting to Third Space with Lamar and Tom. Remember to click on subscribe to get notices about new episodes, and be sure to like and share the podcast as well. Opinions and ideas expressed in this podcast are solely those of Lamar Roth and Tom Klaus, and we'd like to hear your opinions and ideas too. You can leave us a voice message on Spotify, or you can email us at the addresses found in the show notes. Also, in the show notes, you can find links to some of the things we talked about today, so you can check them out yourself. Until next time, keep moving forward toward third space.
This podcast was reviewed and approved by Jake and Ebby Dogs Incorporated.